All right, so welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're gonna, take a deep dive into the world of Ken Wilber and integral theory. But
Yeah.
but we're going a little deeper. We've got this book called Integral Paradox, and it
Yeah.
it really kind of critiques some of Wilber's key ideas.
Yeah, it's a fascinating collection of
Oh
essays.
yeah.
They really push back against a lot of Wilber's, his model,
Okay.
particularly his ideas on evolution, consciousness,
Yeah.
even things like UFOs, which we'll get to.
Oh wow. Okay.
Gives you a sense of really the debate surrounding Wilber's work.
So this is okay. So we're going beyond just like integral theory 101 here. We're
Yeah.
actually looking at it through the lens of his critics.
Right.
What are some of the big things integral paradox brings up?
Well, one of the most interesting critiques is how Wilber tackles evolution.
Okay.
He uses this concept of eros as like a driving force, like an inherent urge towards greater complexity, consciousness.
Oh.
But the book really argues that he's kind of forcing a goal onto a process that's inherently random, as Darwin saw it.
So this is interesting for anyone listening who's kind of fascinated by evolution. Like,
Right.
does this idea of arrows,
Right.
does that resonate with you, or does randomness and natural selection feel more accurate? And integral paradox definitely leans towards the latter.
It does, yeah. The book really kind of claims that Wilber underplays the role of random mutations and survival of the fittest, those core Darwinian principles, and suggests that, eros is more philosophical than scientific.
Okay, so it's interesting because, I mean, Wilber, he's trying to create a model that encompasses everything,
Right.
but maybe it's a bit too neat and tidy.
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah. The book also calls out Wilber's use of statistics, claiming he presents them without enough context for us to even really know if they hold up. And then there's this famous color coding system.
Yes, assigning colors to different levels of consciousness.
Yeah.
Very catchy, but integral paradox argues it just oversimplifies things, right?
Yeah.
Like, can you really reduce the vast spectrum of human experience
Yeah.
to a few color categories?
Right.
The book suggests it's ripe for parody.
Oh, I can imagine the memes.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, but beyond, kind of critiquing Wilber's methods,
Yeah.
integral paradox also dives into some really interesting personal anecdotes
Right.
that highlight these tensions between, belief and evidence.
Exactly.
There's one about the author, Jeff Lane, and his male woman, who was a follower of this Indian mystic Fakir Chand.
Yes, Fakir Chand famously had this realization
Okay.
that the visions people see during meditation, might just be mental projections,
Okay.
not divine revelations.
Yeah.
And this really shook Lane's male woman because it challenged her whole understanding of her spiritual practice.
So it's a powerful example of how even these deeply held beliefs
Yeah.
can be challenged when
Right.
we look at things from a different angle.
Through a different angle.
And that seems to be a theme.
It is.
The paradox.
It really encourages us to be cautious about taking, spiritual experiences
Right.
at face value.
Yeah.
Even mystical insights
Yeah.
can be shaped by our own psychology and culture. Yeah.
Okay. So we're starting to see how integral paradox kind of picks apart
Yeah.
some of Wilber's core assumptions.
Mhm.
But the book goes even further, exploring his ideas on consciousness
Right.
and this thing called the subtle realm,
Yes,
even bringing virtual reality into the mix.
it does.
This is where it gets really mind-bending.
Yeah, so Wilber talks about the subtle realm
Yeah.
as this level of existence beyond the physical world that you can access through, meditation or spiritual practices.
Okay.
And what's fascinating is that integral paradox draws parallels between this concept
Yeah.
and the potential of VR technology
Oh, wow.
to create simulated astral experiences.
So are we saying that virtual reality could be like a shortcut to enlightenment?
Well, maybe not enlightenment exactly,
Okay.
but it is interesting to think about how VR might be able to replicate aspects of mystical experiences, right?
Yeah.
Things like, out-of-body sensations, visions, feelings of interconnectedness.
Yeah.
Those are all things that VR can potentially simulate.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder about the nature of the experience itself, right?
If technology can create those sensations,
Yeah.
does that diminish the value of a genuine spiritual insight?
Right.
Or could VR actually be a tool for exploring consciousness in new ways?
Yeah, it's a question that integral paradox leaves open for us.
Okay.
And I think it's especially relevant,
Yeah.
as VR becomes more sophisticated and immersive.
Okay, so we've got Wilber's take on evolution with this arrows theory.
Yep.
We've got his use of statistics and color coding, and now we've got this mind-blowing discussion about the subtle realm and virtual reality.
Right.
It's clear that integral paradox is raising some serious questions about his work. But does the book offer any alternatives? What does it have to say about the role of critics in all of this?
That's a key point. Integral paradox isn't just about tearing down Wilber's ideas.
Okay.
It actually emphasizes the vital role critics play in refining any intellectual or spiritual framework.
Okay.
Think of them as like the quality control, making sure the ideas hold up under scrutiny.
So like those inspectors that check the foundation of a building before you move in, make sure it's all solid.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the book highlights the work of Frank Visser and the website Integral World, which is dedicated to examining Wilber's work with a critical eye.
So it's less about Wilber is wrong and more about how can we make these ideas stronger and more nuanced.
Yes, precisely.
Okay, that sounds like a much more productive
Much more productive. And Integral Paradox doesn't shy away from self-critique either. Lane shares examples of how engaging with critics of his own work on various spiritual leaders actually helped him refine his arguments.
Oh, interesting.
And gather better evidence.
This is making me think about that whole controversy with Google's search results that you mentioned earlier.
Yes.
How Google was initially showing some pretty questionable responses to searches about, certain groups.
Right.
That seems relevant here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that even algorithms can have biases.
Oh, yeah.
And we need to be critical thinkers, no matter where our information comes from.
Yeah.
Just because something pops up on our screen doesn't mean it's the whole truth.
So whether it's Google search results or complex theories of consciousness, critical thinking is key.
Critical thinking is key.
It's like Integral Paradox is giving us a toolkit for navigating this world of information and ideas, whether we agree with Wilber or not.
It's about engaging in that open dialogue.
Right.
Being willing to refine our thinking based on feedback. And recognizing that there are multiple sides to every issue.
Okay, I'm ready to dive deeper into those multiple sides.
All right.
What else does Integral Paradox have in store for us?
Let's find out. Well, prepare for a curveball, because Integral Paradox also tackles Wilber's ideas about UFOs.
Wait, UFOs? As in like aliens and spaceships and stuff?
Yeah.
I thought we were in the realm of consciousness and evolution here.
We are.
Yeah.
But Wilber doesn't shy away from the paranormal.
Okay.
He actually tries to fit UFOs and other, unexplained phenomena into his integral framework.
Okay, color me intrigued. How does he even begin to explain UFOs?
Right.
Does he think that, we're being visited by little green men?
Not exactly. He uses this three-tiered system to categorize UFO encounters.
Okay.
Borrowed from, actually, Fakir Chand, that Indian mystic we mentioned earlier.
Right. The one who was questioning the nature of visions.
Exactly.
Okay. So what are the three tiers?
Okay.
Is it definitely aliens versus probably just a weather balloon?
It's a little more nuanced than that.
Okay.
So the first tier is what Wilber calls natural UFOs.
Okay.
These are things easily explained by science. Think weather balloons, satellites, atmospheric phenomena.
Okay.
Stuff we can, explain with our current understanding.
Okay, so those are the easily debunked sightings.
Right.
What about the second tier?
That's where things get a little more interesting.
Okay.
Wilber calls these translative UFOs.
Translative.
They're encounters that current science can't readily explain, but maybe future science could?
Okay.
Or perhaps they point to a deeper understanding of consciousness that we haven't grasped yet. You know?
So it's we don't have the full picture yet.
Right.
But there might be a scientific explanation out there somewhere.
Exactly.
It's not aliens, but it's also not something we fully understand.
Exactly. And then you've got the third tier.
Okay.
The most mysterious of them all.
Okay.
Transformative UFOs.
Yeah. Okay, this is where I'm picturing those blurry photos and stories of alien abductions.
Well, it can be like that, but the key is that these encounters are deeply subjective.
Okay.
And often linked to, altered states of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
People interpret them as, spiritual experiences, encounters with other dimensions.
Yeah.
Or, yes, even contact with extraterrestrial beings.
So we're venturing into the territory where the line between reality and perception gets really blurry here. It sounds like the interpretation almost matters more than the event itself.
And that's exactly what Integral Paradox highlights.
Okay.
It points out that this is where Wilber's theories can get a little slippery.
Yeah.
How do you,
Right.
how do you prove or disprove a subjective experience.
It's like trying to prove you had a specific dream.
Exactly.
It happened to you.
Yeah.
But how do you convince someone else?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to illustrate this point,
Yeah.
the book uses a rather unexpected example.
Mm.
People claiming to have seen Elvis
Hold on.
after his death.
Elvis sightings.
Elvis sightings.
How does that connect to UFOs?
Well, integral paradox argues that both UFO encounters and Elvis sightings, however outlandish they may seem, demonstrate how cultural values and needs can shape our perception of reality.
Okay.
It's not necessarily about, Elvis actually being alive or aliens visiting Earth, but more about how, our beliefs and desires influence what we see and experience.
So it's like we see what we want to see.
Yeah.
Or what we're
primed to see.
Primed to see, yeah, based on our existing beliefs.
Based on our existing beliefs, exactly.
Okay, I'm starting to see the connection here.
Right.
Yeah.
It all circles back to the importance of critical thinking.
Right.
Don't just accept things at face value.
Yeah.
Especially when dealing with extraordinary claims.
Mm-hmm.
Question your assumptions, look for evidence, and be open to the possibility that your perception might be influenced by factors you're not even aware of.
Okay, so we've gone from questioning Wilber's evolutionary model to examining his theories on UFOs. This is quite a journey.
It is. It is.
Where does integral paradox take us next?
Well, it doesn't stop there.
Okay.
The book also tackles Wilber's ideas about enlightenment and the very nature of truth itself. So in this final part, we're going kind of back to the heart of integral paradox's critique.
Okay.
And revisiting that whole concept of evolution.
Okay.
Remember how the book challenges Wilber's interpretation of, Darwinian evolution?
Right. We talked about how he uses arrows as this driving force towards complexity and consciousness.
Exact.
But integral paradox pushes back, arguing for a more traditional Darwinian view.
Yeah, the book really stresses the importance of sticking to those principles of randomness and chance, those cornerstones of Darwin's theory.
Yeah.
It suggests that we don't need to impose some grand purpose or goal on the process to find it meaningful.
But if evolution is all about, random mutations and survival of the fittest, how do we find meaning in that? We feel kind of aimless,
Yeah, I think that's a question a lot of people grapple with.
Yeah.
But integral paradox suggests that meaning can be found in the sheer wonder of what evolution has produced, even without a predetermined endpoint.
So, you mean things like the incredible diversity of life on Earth?
Exactly.
The development of, complex organs like the human brain, that kind of thing.
Precisely. It's about appreciating that intricate tapestry of life that has emerged through billions of years of evolutionary processes.
Right.
Even if it wasn't all orchestrated according to some grand plan.
This makes me think about that whole debate between science and religion.
Yeah.
Can we reconcile a scientific understanding of evolution with the idea of a divine creator?
Right.
That feels like a big question that maybe integral paradox might address.
And you're right. The book doesn't shy away from that debate at all.
Okay.
It acknowledges that science and religion offer, different ways of knowing the world. Science focuses on empirical evidence and observation, while religion deals with faith, spirituality, personal experience.
So it's like two different lenses through which we can view reality.
Exactly.
But can we use both lenses at the same time?
Right.
Or do we have to choose one or the other?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
And integral paradox suggests that we can appreciate the insights offered by both science and religion without needing to force them into a single unified framework.
So they can coexist peacefully, each enriching our understanding of the world in its own way. Okay, that's a refreshing perspective.
Yeah, the book encourages us to be open to both scientific and spiritual insights, recognizing that they can complement and enhance each other.
This entire deep dive has been so thought-provoking.
It has.
Integral paradox has challenged us to think beyond these rigid categories and embrace a more nuanced view of things, whether it's evolution, consciousness, even the nature of truth itself.
I think through all these twists and turns, the book ultimately emphasizes the importance of intellectual humility. We need to be willing to question our assumptions.
Right.
Acknowledge the limitations of our current understanding.
Yeah.
And stay curious.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey, full of Surprising insights and
Yes.
challenging
Yeah,
ideas.
but you're right. The real takeaway is that that quest for knowledge is ongoing.
Yeah,
We're all works in progress, constantly learning and evolving.
exactly. And integral paradox reminds us to approach that journey with an open mind,
Yes,
a critical eye, and a healthy dose of skepticism.
absolutely.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into integral paradox, what would you say to our listeners who are now grappling with all these complex ideas? What's the most important thing for them to remember?
I'd say don't feel overwhelmed by the complexity.
Okay.
Embrace the questions that integral paradox raises. Let them spark your own curiosity and guide your own explorations.
Mhm.
Whether you agree with Wilber or his critics, the process of engaging with these ideas is where the real learning happens.
It's like that saying, the journey is the destination.
Exactly.
And this deep dive has certainly been a fascinating journey.
It has. And remember, there's no one right answer to these big questions about consciousness, evolution, the nature of reality.
Right.
The beauty lies in the exploration itself.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into integral paradox. We hope it sparked your intellectual curiosity and left you with plenty to ponder.
And if you're eager to explore further, be sure to check out the book itself.
Yeah.
There's a wealth of fascinating ideas waiting to be discovered.
Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.